Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and today we are going to do some ultra short runway operations in the brand new Black Square Bonanza Professional that's just been released for Microsoft Flight Simulator and Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. At this point, thank you very much to the developers and to Just Flight for giving me a review copy of the aircraft. Now, if you're looking at this beautifully looking airplane, you may notice that something is a little bit different from what you would normally be expecting, and that is the nose of the airplane. Because this particular version of the Bonny has been fitted with a PT6, a turboprop engine. And yes, these things did really exist in the real world, and they are going to make for some very, very, very powerful takeoffs and climbs. So really looking forward to getting this one going and getting our Bonanza in the air. But before we start, let's actually go ahead and do a couple of general things here, which means basically looking at our flight plan and what we expect to do today. So just to give you a quick idea, let's have a look at SkyVector over here. This is what today's flight looks like. We're departing Heidebusum in Germany, and then we're heading out to the North Sea to Helgoland with its lovely 480-meter runway, and that is the longest of the three they got there. Now, as you can see, we're flying through a restricted area over here. However, we did already make a call to AISC, and they told us that the restricted areas are not active today. And apart from that, should be straight flight. Fairly low clouds today, though, as we're crossing the North Sea, so it will be a pretty low cruising altitude. Well, and with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get our airplane ready over here. We are going to remove the engine covers, the pitot cover, and yes, think about removing that, otherwise things are gonna go southbound pretty quickly in this airplane. Alright then, so with that I think we are ready to go, so follow me inside and let's start setting up our beautiful Bonny. Now, a quick last word here. As you can see, we finally got the live registrations on our fuselage. In order to get that, you do need Sim Update 4, but if you are in the Sim Update 4 beta, then you can already make use of that feature. And as you can see, that looks absolutely lovely. Getting your own custom registration that you set in the aircraft selection menu right onto the airplane, and not just on the outside, but actually right there in the inside up here as well. Now, I gotta say that obviously this is a little bit of a premium aircraft here, with the turboprop engine not being entirely the cheapest, so in the real world. So yeah, we do have a lovely leather seat cabin in here, and beautiful variations, just really, really nicely modeled, isn't it? So let's get that armrest up, and well, then let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to do down here is actually to fill up our plane with some gas, and then we do have ourselves and you guys on board, and then let's also take 2 passengers here. A little bit of baggage to spend a nice day in Helgoland. Alright, so fuel for 3.9 hours, and most importantly, sufficient fuel that we can get the airplane over to Helgoland and then back, because fuel is really limited over there. Alright, cool. Covers are removed. Our CG is still within the limit. We are just shy of the maximum takeoff weight of 4,050 pounds. We're at 3,916, so that is good to go. Now, the engine, really interesting to see this one in action. If we do find some time in the flight, then we're definitely going to have a look at this, because it really shows you how the entire turboprop engine is operating. That's just really, really nicely simulated here. Alright, cool. So for our navigation suite today, I did fit the KX155B as primary radio, and then the GTN 650 as secondary over here. No 750 in today's airplane, because, well, I gotta admit that I kind of really like the 650 for the Bonanza. It just fits very well in my opinion. Alright, cool. Then let's put the tablet away and just have a very quick look into some of the changes that we got in the flight deck in the turboprop-powered Bonanza versus the standard Bonanzas that we have already flown. So you can see a couple of changed flight deck switches over here. We do have the fire detection test, we do have the ice deflection door, Then we do also have a couple of different environmental controls down here, since the turboprop works a little bit different. Of course, we do have a wholly different control stand with the dedicated turboprop engine controls and the firewall shutoff valve now being located down here. And then we got this switch, which is the manual override. We will be talking a little bit about that when we are in flight, because that's a very interesting system. Of course, we also have the dedicated engine trend monitor for our PT6A engines over here, and, well, we do have the different fuel gauge. Okay, easy stuff. Alright then, let's go ahead and start running our flight. So, we will again be using the checklist right from the product manual, so if you want to be able to follow along, then do have a look over there. Alright, and then let's get going. Before starting, engine checklist. Pre-flight inspection complete, control locks removed, seats and seatbelt secures, cabin doors are latched, the parking brake is set, emergency gear handle stowed, avionic breakers are all in, the flaps are up, oxygen pressure is 2200 psi. Okay, avionics are all off. Then power lever is, here we go, set to flight idle, propeller high RPM, condition lever cutoff, then aileron trim is centered, as we can also see by the yoke being in the neutral position. Alright, firewall fuel shutoff valve open, respectively pushed in, then ice deflector off, that's off. Okay, oil door open, P3 bleed air is off, so oil door is down here. When that's pushed forward, that's open. P3 bleed air is off. Then landing gear down, all these sub-panel switches are off. Okay, all turbine engine switches are off, main breakers are all in, alternate static air normal, CO detector test is tested. Fuel selector on the fullest tank, both are going to do since we just refueled the airplane. Alright then, so beacon light on, then battery master on, bus voltage, we've got more than 23, annunciators tested and all of them considered. Okay, standby alternator on, and fuel quantities are checked full. Okay, fuel pump number 1 checked audible, fuel pump number 2 checked audible, fuel pump off, ignition auto, and on. We can see the ignition light illuminate in both cases since the engine is actually switched off. Okay, so ignition stays on. Then standby gyro pump on. We can see the gyro is spinning up, and we do have instrument air down here. Alright, cool. And then the standby pump is going back off again, and that's the before starting engine checklist complete. Alright then, so everything's closed, everything's removed from the airplane. Let's go ahead and start her up. Engine start checklist. So, oil door closed if exceptionally cold, that's not the case. Alright then, let's go ahead, starter on. So the gas generator, that's basically the N1, is moving up. We're looking for at least 15%. You can also see digitally down here on the engine trend monitor. So we got the minimum of 15, but we'll let it run up all the way to maximum motoring in order to keep the temperatures cool, like that. Okay, mixture on, IGT is rising. And you can see how nicely cold it stays when you really let the engine run all the way up. That's making things nice and easy, isn't it? Okay, so our engine is coming up. So bus voltage is now at 15 minimum, and the engine is basically running. Cool, so generator on. So bus voltage is now 28 volts, generator load below 60 amps within 2 minutes, that's easy going, and then after start checklist please. All annunciators extinguished, general load below 25 amps in 2 minutes. Lights as required. We're just going to keep the beacon for the time being since it's a daylight flight. Okay, weather radar off or standby. We're going to go with the off position here. Avionics on. So, cabin air and heat. Let's see, it's just 9 degrees in here. Let's definitely get that up. So, cabin heat, pull on. And we're also going to turn the... Actually, I think this should be enough, should it? Well... Let's get the air conditioning system going so that we can warm it up nicely in here. Okay, cool. So, cabin air and heat as desired, air conditioning as desired, and next is going to be the parking brake release. So let's just take a moment down here to start setting up the avionics. So, weather radar standby. So, flight plan from Echo Delta X Bravo to Echo Delta X Hotel. Here we go. So, default nav, that's gonna be a track of 270. And that's selected. Runway tracks, runway is probably gonna be 29. Let's see the wind sock. Oh yeah, definitely runway 29 in use here. With quite a bit of crosswind, making things a little bit more interesting. Alright then, let's go ahead and have a look at the charts real quick, courtesy by the Deutsche Flugsicherung. So these are the real-world charts, as the AIP is available online for free. Okay, so we are going to be departing runway 29, so that means basically once we're passing that first road, we're going to do the right-hand turn towards all the wind turbines in order to avoid the Westerdeichstrich, and then from here left turn out back towards our destination. 800 feet is pattern altitude. We are going to climb higher straight away though, and yeah, that's that. For the taxi chart, parking up here on the apron all the way to the full length, runway 29. Takeoff run available to 720 meters. Okay, cool. So that's everything we will need for the departure. Then we got our radios ready. Let's actually go ahead and grab our departure frequency real quick here. So, waypoint info, airport. So, Busom. Nope, I'm actually looking for the frequencies. Radio 125.86, and that's going active. Alright, cool. So, 125.86, let's go ahead and switch that on radio number 1 actually. We want to listen to 1 and 2, and you're gonna go on to 1 to 1.5 down here. Remember, this is COM 1, this is COM 2. Okay, so listening to both, and COM 1 is active, then we can also tune the Helgoland VOR, even though I do believe that that is inoperative in the sim. But let's see. So, 116.3 transfer. Alright, cool. So, that's our setup completed. Transponder 7000 standby. We can prepare the ADF for the flight timer, or rather for the elapsed timer. And I think that's everything we need for the time being. Temperature is warming up nicely. Now, fuel elevation is basically 0 over here, so let's set our altimeters down to 0. Like that. Alright, cool. And that's everything completed for the time being. Initial climb 800 according to the chart. We'll probably climb higher straight away, see what the clouds are going to allow. That's going to be fine either way. Okay, cool. So then, we are done with our setup, so let's go ahead and release that parking brake, and off we go. Brakes are checked and operating fine. So our engine is on idle. As you can see, it rolls fairly nicely. We do have beta range though. If you do want to make it roll a little bit slower, then you just pull that let's not turn the wrong direction here. So with the beta range you can actually taxi her pretty nicely without the use of brakes, even though I know that I just demonstrated something different. Okay, and off we go. Small little airfield. I do like them a lot in this area. Heidebusum, St. Peter-Ording, Helgoland. Many nice airports here. Now you can immediately see how the wind coming from the right has an influence on our airplane banking to the left here. Let's not taxi too fast so that we don't run into any problems here. Ooh, that's a lovely gust. I am in the full left rudder right now. Something tells me if we have problems taxiing the airplane like that, we're probably also gonna have problems flying it, but this is a simulator. Let's have some fun. Weather isn't this good in this area in the recent days, so we'll rather be careful here. Okay, so we'll be stopping over here and park and brake is set. So, out of the beta range, here we go. Alright, lovely, here we are. Then let's do the run-up checklist, please. So, park and brake set, annunciators tested and considered, remote compass is slaved, and 070, yeah, pretty much aligned. Okay, fuel pump 1, on, and then prop lever 2000 RPMs. So the RPMs are down here. Is the airplane holding? Yes, it is. Okay. Okay, here we go. 2000 RPMs. Oh, that's a bit too much. Here we go. Okay, prop governor test should go to 1990. And indeed it does. Okay, so exercise propeller to 1500 RPMs. Do I actually need to feather it for that? We do. Okay. So that's done. Fire detector test is working just fine. Alright, generator reset holds. So that's that one. And that's looking good. Okay, so generator load is... went down to 0, came back up again, standby alternator annunciator was illuminated, generator load was flashing positive, and generator reset release. So, standby alternator annunciator is extinguished. Okay, generator load is below 75 amps, that's beautiful. Okay, power lever idle. Alright, ice deflector on. Oil door on. Okay, oil door closed light is illuminated and oil door open unless it is exceptionally cold, which it is not. So we can open that one again. Right, cabin is coming up nicely now. Very good. Alright, cool. So, instrument air is in the green, propeller heat... No, where is it? Here it is. Is on, we see the amps. That's looking good. Okay, so, prop amps... Actually, why are the prop amps at 0? Prop DI is broken. I mean, we see the system amps up here, so I don't know. That may be a little issue down here. I'm gonna report that one as a bug, see what they say. Perhaps it's just me being too dumb to operate the airplane. That could very well be, but well, we're just gonna keep it that way. Okay, so prop heat off. I'm also gonna turn those ice doors back off again. Actually, we shouldn't. They should stay on according to the manual, at least for now. Alright, cool. So let's go ahead and test the rest of the systems. So electrical trim is operating just fine. Then autopilot test, we're gonna use that and that heading. Engage, looks good. The other direction. Response, looks good. Disconnect, and second press removal removes the flight director. That's also looking good. Alright, cool. So, then takeoff trim. We are gonna use quite a bit of nose down trim here because actually it should be past the 0 position. Here it is. Okay, so trim in position 0 because we are rather tail heavy already. Then ice deflection annunciator is illuminated. Now we can tune the ice door as we need, and I'm going to turn it back off again. So then flaps check operation. Let's see, extension looks just fine over here. Then let's go for the retraction. And that looks just fine on the other end side. Perfect. And then we are going to use the approach mode for our takeoff. Okay, so cockpit windows are closed. Off-door annunciator is extinguished. Flight controls free and correct. Altimeter set. Departure altitude set. Takeoff heading set. Panel lights dimmed. And park and brake release. And that's it. That's the run-up checklist complete. So let's go into the takeoff briefing. This is going to be a left seat takeoff, runway 29. Wind is going to come from the left. We will need quite a bit of aileron to help us with directional control here. Rotate at 72 knots and climb at 98. We can retract the flaps once above 80 knots and 400 feet on the altimeter. In case of engine failure, we can pretty much land straight ahead. Kind of the left side is a little bit better than the right side due to all those wind turbines over there. Apart from that, nothing special, nothing non-standard. It is a little bit windy, but that shall not be too much of our problem just yet. Don't ask me to repeat that before landing, though. Okay, cool. And that's the takeoff briefing complete. So, before takeoff checklist. Oil temperature, 115 Fahrenheit minimums. And we easily got that. 115, note that. Okay, battery temperature annunciator is extinguished. Air conditioning system is off. Okay, our landing lights on. And transponder alt, weather radar on. Before takeoff checklist complete. Okay, let's go. Resume traffic, Delta Echo Echo Lima Foxtrot, line up and takeoff from runway 28, departing towards Helgoland. So, I promised you guys an ultra short runway operation. Let's go ahead and do that. So, liner up. Timing, timing, and then let's go. The difficulty here is not to over-torque the engine, because the monitor notices all of that, and it looks rather embarrassing if you do. So let's be sure to get that right. C and P exceedance. That's how easily it goes in here. Alright, so 1100 is what it gets. And then takeoff. See, quite a bit of wind. Alright, 70 knots, rotate. Passing 80. A little bit windy here. Positive climb, gear up. So I told you this plane is a little bit overpowered. I think you can see what I meant with that. Passing 400, flaps up, and we can start the right turn out. There's the roads down there. And then let's see how high we can get without actually running into those clouds on the way over to Helgoland. So down here is Vesterheva that we're not supposed to overfly. And I think we're already up here with the clouds. So we gotta level off over here. 1,500 feet. Okay. Might actually just go on top over there, huh? Yeah, tell you what, let's do that. Without over-talking the engine, that is. So we are not pressurized. That means we gotta keep our rate of climb under control here. Shouldn't exceed 1,000. And then we gotta keep our airspeed under control, because the turboprop is so incredibly powerful that if you just keep the power up, then yeah, you're right in the overspeed. Alright, this is looking good though. Let's go ahead and re-intercept our course line, and then we're on the way to Helgoland. A couple of low-lying clouds over there. I do hope that we are going to find a gap to get through them when we get to Helgoland, but I don't want to fly across the North Sea in 1,000 feet, because if your engine quits, you have exactly 1 minute until you're in the water, so I'd rather go a little bit higher here, if we can. And we absolutely can. Okay, cool, so let's set this up to, like, we're going westbound. Make that 4,500, shall we? Like that. Alright, cool, so you can give me 1,000 feet a minute for this. And engage that, please. Alt armed. Nav is also on. Well, let's actually use heading in order to intercept that. Route. So, someone recently asked me if you can use the flight director to follow the nav mode, and the answer is of course yes, you absolutely can. So, something you are going to notice when flying the turboprop Bonanza is that you do need quite a bit of aileron here in order to keep her going upright. So that's why I actually got an aileron trim down there, because the engine just produces so incredibly much torque. Alright, I think now we are nicely established. That looks good. Alright, so synchronize the heading bug and autopilot engage, please. 500 to go. Okay, so that actually looks pretty good. Then let's just keep up power in order to keep the speed up here at the 160s, 170s, like that. And then let's go ahead and reset that exceedance down there. Yeah, it's noted. Thank you very much. Here we go. That's what we want to see. Okay, so reaching 4,500. We are going to remain on QNH, and here we go. Alright, so proceed direct, Helgoland, activate, and that's on a track of 267. Somewhere over there, and nav. Alright, beautiful. So let's go ahead and reduce our power a little bit and actually find those power settings. So normal cruise power is going to be 1,000 foot-pounds of torque and 2,000 RPMs. So let's go ahead and select that. Torque to 1,000 and RPMs down to 2,000. Like this. Alright, easy going. So we're nicely maintaining 4,500, and Helgoland is about 10 minutes ahead of us. 8 minutes 30. Excellent. Very good. So cruise checklist, please. That's ignition, auto or off. We'll be using auto. Okay, oil door closed, which it is. Ice deflector as required, off. Pitot heat on if OAT is less than 4 degrees. Yeah, it's kind of in the region. Pitot heat on, please. Alright, propeller heat as required, fuel imbalance, 15 gallons maximum. and propeller 2000 RPMs, power lever 10. Yep, power lever to about 10. Oxygen is not required, air conditioning not required. Cabin is at a nice 24 degrees over here. And engine performance monitor, cruise checklist complete. So I did promise you that we would be talking a little bit about that little red guarded switch down here, which just says manual override without any other information of what it actually is. So during the development of the aircraft, and I mean the real aircraft, there was one possible problem identified with it. And that was the fact that when issues occurred with the power levers, and you can see that's why when issues occurred with the power levers, then control of the thrust would be lost. So far so good. But with an engine as powerful as this one, that could lead to severe problems. So what they did is to put that manual override switch in, and when you flick that, you're basically switching from one power lever to the other, or respectively from one cable to the other, so that you can restore engine power control. That failure is fully modeled by Black Square, and definitely something that's going to take some of you by surprise, because, you know, you're making inputs on the throttle and nothing happens, the engine doesn't respond. That's when you flick that switch. Really, really interesting little device there, if you ask me, and absolutely something that is worth exploring at one point or another. Alright, so look at that. The power setting actually leads us right up to MMO. Well, VMO on this airplane, I hope. Let's see, temperature is 4 degrees and we're in 4,500. So that means somewhere like here. So we're doing 180 knots true airspeed. That's quite nice, isn't it? Now looking outside, there are a couple of holes in the clouds every now and then, so I have a feeling when we initiate the descent, that hole over there seems to be what we want to go through. And that may actually be Helgoland that we can see over there already. 5 minutes to run, so yeah, let's actually go ahead and start descending. Pattern altitude is 600. Reduce power first, start descent second, because we're right at the maximum speed. So 1000 feet a minute, and then let's turn slightly to the right, so that we stay VMC. Alright then, so far so good, descent checklist. Ignition, auto off, oil door closed. And the annunciation is coming up, beautiful. Okay, ice deflector is required off, power lever reduce, engine performance monitor, ice protection is required, fuel imbalance 15 gallons maximum. And I tell you what, we are actually going to switch tanks real quick here. So, fuel pump is on as number 1, and here we go. Over to the right hand tank. Looking good. So, weather is good everywhere except to the right, as we can easily see even without a weather radar. And then we've just got to find a way around the clouds. I think that right hand side there is actually best. So let's do like heading 310, fly through here, get below the clouds, and then we can start our approach to Helgoland. There'd be some holes over here as well, but going down from here is kind of going to put us into a nice downwind for runway 33. So while we're descending, let's actually go ahead and take a quick look into our destination and what we are about to do over here. So let's have a look into the AIP, starting with the airfield chart. So we got runway 15 and runway 33. We'll have to see where the wind is coming from. I'm not 100% sure. There is no public weather source for Helgoland. In any case, you can see it's 480 meters of runway, 371 on the middle one, and 258 meters on the short runway. We will be aiming to land on the large one at 480 meters. Looking into the traffic pattern, it's 600 feet altitude and, well, standard traffic pattern to the right-hand side. for pretty much the entire area. Okay, and field elevation, of course, pretty much 0. Alright then, we can start turning back to the left. Let's do heading 240. And then Helgoland is coming into view over there. Okay, beautiful. So, 600 feet altitude is armed. So, quickly going over the approach checklist, seat and seatbelt secured, fuel selector is on the fullest tank now with the right-hand tank. That's 1,000 to go. Let's actually reduce that rate of descent to 500 feet a minute now that we clear the clouds. Helgoland clearly inside over there. Okay, oxygen is off, landing lights are on, pitot heat is on, prop heat is off. Okay, air conditioning off. Where is it? Yes, it is. It's getting a little warm now at 26, by the way, so let's just put that to somewhere over half position. Okay, so air conditioning off, ignition, auto, and ice deflector as needed. Well, I'm actually going to turn that ice deflector on, because Helgoland, with all the sand, could potentially do some damage to the engine, which we do not want. Okay, and flaps as and when needed, and that's our approach checklist complete. So, quick check at the engine instruments. Engine oil, temperature is absolutely fine. Okay. Looking good. There's our field. Let's see if we can actually get the wind from here. So, that should be under utilities, I believe. Yeah, use sensor data, please. But it's not giving us the wind. Okay. Can we get that from the trip planning, maybe? No. Okay, fair enough. Then we have no wind data. Which means we just gotta fly towards our destination and then see what the wind is actually gonna be like. I'm going to keep the pitot heat on, because flying that low, 600 feet right now, it has certain potential for spray water. And now let's actually go ahead, take over manually here. Would be very nice if we had someone to tell us the winds, but unfortunately we don't. But let's see, at this heading we're flying 160 indicated, ground speed 136, that means we actually have headwind right now. So runway 15 is probably going to be the one. Okay, then we can just go straight into the base lag. Okay, flaps approach, gear down. Let's see, fuel pump is already on. The lights are on, and with that everything is set. So we're now on the base for runway 15. Let's go ahead and start reducing our airspeed. Just another couple of knots so that we can actually extend the flaps onto the landing position. So there is our runway. And flaps full. Ground speed now is 86, so we definitely still have headwind. In other words, it's going to be a right crosswind on landing. Can't really make out the windsock, unfortunately. Oh yeah, there it is. Pretty much directly cross. Okay. Well, that's going to make things interesting. Let's see how this is going to go. Please, without the lag. Come on, landing on a runway like this with lag is not fair. What the hell? Okay, power idle. Decrap. Flare. And we're down. Could have been nicer if the stupid thing didn't lag, but, well, here we are. Alrighty, so this time we must definitely not overshoot that runway on the turn. Okay, welcome to Helgoland. 17 minutes trip time, very easy going. Man, you really feel the wind in that airplane. Look at the windsock. That's like, what, 25 knots? Okay, so, runway vacated. Let's just stop here for a second to do the after landing checklist. So, ignition, off, flaps, up, ice deflector, not needed anymore. Off, weather radar is off, lights, off, pitot heat, off, air conditioning as desired. We can already turn the cabin heat off down there. And cabin air and heat off. After landing checklist complete. Alright then. Brakes off. Let's find ourselves a parking spot. Gotta be somewhere where we can tie the airplane down. So let's put it in the middle of those tie downs down here. Is that just tires that they're using for this? Alright, here we are. So, parking brake set, shutdown and securing checklist please. Parking brake set, avionics off, all sub-panel switches off, and that is the case for everything but the beacon down there. Alright, so, throttle. Why can't I move the camera? Here we go. Throttle idle, propeller high RPM, condition lever, cutoff, generator. Is off, standby alternator is off, fuel pumps. Actually, is the generator off? Yes, it is. Okay, lovely. So, fuel pump off, battery master off, parking brake, release, and control locks install. Most definitely gonna need those when parking the airplane in an area like this. So, chocks in place. Pitot covers in place and engine covers. Well, we should be waiting a small moment with those to let the engine cool down a bit, but tell you what, put them on. There are so many birds and stuff over here. We'll definitely need those. Alright, and with that, welcome to Helgoland. Most definitely an interesting one with those winds. Yeah, if we didn't have that lag, I really have no idea where that comes from. It seems to occur with general aviation aircraft only. I got absolutely no idea why and how. But yeah, it just came at the very wrong moment. Otherwise, we could surely have made this a little bit better landing. In any case, thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this one as much as I did. Surely a hugely powerful aircraft and engine. A lot of fun to fly this. So be sure to give it a try yourself and let me know how you liked it in the comments underneath the video. Thank you very much for watching. As always, like, comment and subscribe, and then I'm really looking forward to see you guys again on the next one.